Later on, I'll be speaking with a Florida activist, Wendy Sejour. She is part of the push in Florida to get in the battle between Dwight Bullard and Bittel. So she's going to come in and give us a little insight in terms of that particular. It's a localized race for DNC chair down there in Florida, but it is a very important race and a very telling race for and with implications on the national scene. So we'll be talking with her momentarily. I want to welcome a longtime supporter of the Benjamin Dixon Show and all around progressive champion. You've seen her on Twitter. You see her doing her thing, but she's more. I think she's more well known in the Florida area, South Florida, for her activism there and the role that she plays in progressive politics down there. My stumping ground of South Florida, Wendy Sejour. And now, Wendy, as much as I know you, I'm horrible with last names. Is that the correct way to pronounce your last name?
You got it.
Oh, I said it right. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. How are you? Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on.
I have says the honor is mine.
Show.
Thank you so much. I know you've been, I think you've been supporting the show almost just a little bit, just shy of how long I've been running the show. So you've known about Benjamin Dixon probably longer than anybody who's listening right now, with a few exceptions, right? So tell me about what you're working on with this race between Bittel and Bullard in the South Florida area. Tell us about the race. Bring us up to speed.
Oh, okay. Well, how far back do I need to go? Because this is a crap show of epic proportions.
Well, give
it's
us
like somebody
give us what you
used
got.
House of Cards as like viewed House of Cards as a documentary instead of a work of fiction. It's just incredible.
Well, I tell you what. I can guide a little bit. I mean, because I know you have a lot to say about it. Tell me a little bit about, tell us about Dwight, because I know Dwight Bullard. I know of his work, but tell us why you feel like, and so many people are fighting on his behalf for this position. And then we'll talk about Bittel.
Well, Dwight has been such a long-time champion of progressive causes, and he comes from a political family. His mother, Larcinia, was a state house rep and a state senator. His father was a state house rep, and his mother is legendary for fighting for causes and the African-American community in South Florida. He followed in her footsteps, and he has been one of the most effective progressive Democratic legislators in the state house and the state senate. He's, passed several pieces of legislation. He's advocated for everybody's rights, not just African Americans, but Hispanics and Native Americans, poor people, the middle class. And he's just been a great middle class champion who's walked the walk. He doesn't just sit in the state senate and talk. He's walked picket lines. He's gone on marches. He's put his own body on the front line, with people on the street working and doing the work. And he's just an incredible, selfless human being.
Now, let me ask you a question right there, if you don't mind. Now, give us what's the official title of the position he's running for?
He's running to be state committeeman, which is technically the liaison between the Miami-Dade local Democratic Party and the Florida Democratic Party at the state level. So he represents the local party at the state level on this, I think it's the Central Committee of the FDP, and he has voting power, quite a lot of voting power. State committeemen and committee women have the most power of anyone in state politics. They have huge block of votes. And, if you can get all the state committee men and committee women together on an issue, they run the party.
So
they dictate what happens and what doesn't happen.
So this is a local race that has statewide implications, a lot of significant power on the state level. I met a couple of the state committee women and men back in the day when I was thought I wanted to be in the Florida Democratic Party and thought differently very quickly thereafter. But I digress. But the reason we're even discussing this on my show is because this battle between Bullard and Bittel has taken on a national kind of scope, particularly where it comes with Keith Ellison. Because there's some rumors and I say rumors because I haven't seen a concrete, and maybe you have something that I may not have come across, but I haven't seen a concrete statement yet from Ellison. But the implication that Bittel has stated that Ellison is going to endorse him. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, what's going on is that every piece of information that's come out in the press about this endorsement has come from Stephen Bittel's campaign. I have yet to see anything concrete directly from Ellison's mouth or written on Ellison's letterhead. Mm-hmm. Everything has come from the Bittel campaign. Even, I know that there were some quotes in the press the other day, but all of that is coming from the Bittel campaign. To be honest with you, I really don't know if it's 100% true or not. I'm not surprised that it would happen. How can I put this without sounding? There's been this divide.
Don't worry about sounding any kind of way.
Between the black community and the right-wing Zionist, Israel can do no wrong faction of the Jewish community. And the Jewish community itself is split on this. Mm-hmm.
So
but,
this, go ahead.
Keith Ellison has been taking it on the chin. Mm-hmm. And so Bittel is his in. Bittel would smooth the waters for him. Right. And then Ellison gives Bittel some legitimacy, or he thinks it would give him legitimacy in the black community. He's mistaken, but he thinks that's what's going to happen.
He would be sorely
mistaken.
I know the black community well down there. And this is why it keeps popping up on my radar, because people I roll with when I was in Florida, friends of my family, for just long-time life friends, have been asking Ellison the question, right? On social media, like, Ellison, are you endorsing Bittel? Do you endorse Bittel? And are you endorsing him over Bullard? And there's been like radio silence.
Radio silence, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's very confusing. It's very frustrating. And it's frustrating to me as a long-term progressive and a long-term Keith Ellison supporter. And he's not saying anything. He's not agreeing. He's not denying it. He's not saying it's true, but it's just letting it hang out there.
Right.
And frankly, I don't understand why he's letting it hang out there. Because I don't see any advantage to him in getting cover from Bittel, because the damage that has already been done.
So here's my theory, though.
Bittel can do to take that back. So
right. I think you've already said this, right? I think. Well, let's give a little more context here, right? So Dwight Bullard, if I'm not mistaken, Dwight Bullard has been the target of a lot of attacks claiming that he's anti-Semitic, attacks claiming that
he's a terrorist sympathizer.
Yeah. Tell us more. So he's been under attack, and then on the flip side, you have Bittel, who is the quintessential establishment candidate down there. Wealthy donor connected to Debbie Washman Schultz. Tell us more about Bullard's, the attack that's happening on Bullard, and then tell us more about the background of Bittel.
Okay. Well, the attacks on Dwight Bullard started in his primary race. One of his opponents, Andrew Corge, started attacking him for a trip that Dwight took to Israel with Dream Defenders. It was a fact-finding mission, and they went on a tour of the West Bank, talked to Palestinians to get their perspective. They spoke with Israeli Jews also. They just wanted to get a first-hand idea of what was going on the ground over there for themselves.
Right.
And apparently the tour guide, a tour guide that they had on the West Bank, maybe some 20-odd years ago, had been affiliated with some sort of alleged terrorist activity, but he was a tour guide. I mean, who does background checks on a tour guide, really? So when Dwight came back, that was used against him, in that since he was in the presence of this tour guide, that means he's a Hamas sympathizer.
Yeah.
And because he sides with Black Lives Matter and Dream Defenders in looking for Palestinian civil rights, that means he's anti-Semitic.
Right. So
and it went all over the media. It was disgusting. It was really racist and disgusting.
Which is similar to the attacks on Keith Ellison, right?
On Keith Ellison.
Right.
Exactly. And so Dwight ended up losing his Senate seat because, of course, once that went out in the universe, the Republicans picked it up and just ran with it. And he got zero help from the party.
Wow.
None. He was completely abandoned by the party. There were very few of Florida Democrats who actually stepped up to defend him. And I should also be proud to say that the one person who did stand up and defend him in the Jewish community was Annette Taddeo. She stood up for him, spoke out for him in the Hispanic and the Jewish community. And so that was a good thing, but it wasn't enough.
Right.
It was not enough.
Right.
So he lost his seat, and he decided to, seek office in the local party again, not as chair this time, but as he was originally going to run as vice chair, and lost that seat. And then he's running for committeeman, which just conveniently happened to open up within a week of the original elections, but that's a whole nother story. And so I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm sorry.
No problem. I got you.
There's so much going on in my head, and I'm actually so angry about everything that's going on.
Well, actually, let me tie it in for you. Let me move the conversation a little bit here. So we have on the one side, you have Dwight Bullard, who has proven progressive credentials, a man of the people, and nobody's perfect, right? So we're not trying to make him out to be perfect, but in a competition between him and Bittel, he and Bittel, it's a clear choice. Whereas Bittel has been is quintessential establishment.
He writes checks.
That's his gift, right?
They're trying to portray Bittel as this great progressive who knows all about organizing and getting people motivated and finding great candidates. It's just the same BS that they spewed about Hillary being this great progressive. And I'm sorry, the only thing that this man has ever done is write checks.
Wow.
I don't think, there's no evidence of him going out knocking on doors or, being out there up front in front of an issue. He writes a check. And when he writes that check, there's some payback.
And there's money
that's expected with that.
Right. I was going to say money gets you far.
And
money talks. Yeah. And he has Bittel has this influence from the national level down to the local level. On the national level, he has go ahead.
He has raised millions of dollars. I mean, don't get me wrong. He has raised money and given money to a lot of progressive causes. But writing a check doesn't make you an organizer. Writing a check doesn't mean you understand the ins and outs of running a political party and what it takes to build a candidate structure and an infrastructure to get out the vote. And the fact is, in Florida, for the last 4 years, the chair has been Ellison. She's been very successful at raising money. The Florida Democratic Party has had money.
Yeah.
And in the last 25 years, they've had the greatest losses of any other state party in the country.
Wow.
So clearly, money is not the problem.
See, you said something right there. You said something that is so pivotal, right? I think it's key here in this juncture, right? We have depended on, I think Democrats relate to the party. Democrats relate to the party with being in bed with corporate America. Then we caught up and we fell in love with it and we just started taking money. And then we got late to the party when the Republicans start transition to more of a populist. And when I say populist, I mean their version of populism, Tea Party-esque, rejection of the establishment. And then Democrats stayed at this establishment mindset, and we stayed there too long. That's how we lost to Donald Trump, where Hillary Clinton is just like the Florida Democratic Party. She was able to raise millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to run for president, but money does not answer all of the problems in this equation. We have a problem with connecting with people, and here we are with Bullard, who can connect, and then you have the other person who raises money. So I want to ask you again.
Can write checks.
Exactly, he can write checks. So back on the national implications, right? So we have this big hanging question that a lot of people have lasered in on this committee, state committeeman position, and they've zeroed in on it as, I don't want to call it a litmus test, but kind of as a chin check for Keith Ellison. Like, Keith, are you really down? Like, here is a black man who is the victim of the same type of attacks that you are. He's been called anti-Semitic. He's been called a Muslim or a terrorist sympathizer, Hamas sympathizer. Because all these things, and he is a progressive and he is an outsider. But Bittel has claimed that you are endorsing him, and yet Ellison is silent. So this is like a lot of people who are not even remotely connected to Florida are looking at this race and wondering what Keith Ellison is going to do, because they feel like this is going to be the telltale sign of whether or not he's a real progressive. And as far as Florida's concerned, whether or not the Democratic Party is really ready to do something. You seem to feel like a lot of people will lose. A lot of people will leave if Bittel gets this position, you feel.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, honestly, I will be gone. I cannot be a part of a party that allows this kind of manipulation and buying of power. We've been there. We've done that.
Right.
And it has not worked. 25 years of the same kind of bullshit. Pardon my language.
No, it's fine.
But we've been doing this for over 25 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And Florida is a state that has 500,000 plus registered Democrats, 300,000. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm giving the numbers for my county and not the state. But Democrats outnumber Republicans in Florida by well over 500,000 registrations.
Wow.
And yet, every major office in the state is held by a Republican.
Wow.
The legislature is controlled by Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Local government. It's ridiculous. Money is not working.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. They refuse to see it.
They refuse to see it, and that's the aggravating part. They did not want to see this back in 2010 when the race was between I can't think of your boy name. He was went to FAMU, was a state trooper. His mother was in Congress.
Oh,
Kendrick Meek. Yeah. When they ran Kendrick Meek,
they decided that Charlie Crist would be better.
At the last second, like in the middle of the race, they said Charlie Crist is going to be better. Bill Clinton came down for Charlie Crist. And I mean, this is the kind of madness.
At that time, Charlie Crist wasn't even a registered Democrat.
Not even. He was an independent. He had just left the Republican Party because he lost his primary to Marco Rubio. But this is the type of shenanigans that the Democratic Party in Florida has been doing. And this is how they lost their Senate seat to Marco Rubio. This is how they lost the governorship 2 times to Skeletor, to Charlie Crist. I mean, I'm not Charlie Crist, but what's his name? Rick Scott. Right.
Rick Scott. I know. I try to obliterate his name from my memory too, but I can't.
The Florida Democratic Party needs help, and you're saying that it looks like they're going the wrong way.
In 2018, if Bill Nelson thinks that black voters and progressive voters and Hispanic voters are going to get out and turn out for him, he is sorely mistaken. Yes, the days of us being taken for granted are over.
Yeah.
These young millennials, they're not having it. They're issue-driven. They're not party-driven. And if the party chooses to ignore this large group of voters, they're dead. They're dead.
And, I'm agnostic when it comes to the Democratic Party. The election is over, so I don't even care
So am I.
anymore. I did not want Trump to win by any means. But now that the election is over, the Democrats have doubled down on stupid. So I'm rather agnostic. But thank you for coming on and shedding some light on what's going on. And so basically, we just need to hear from Ellison, whether or not he is going to, if he's even weighing in on that race, right? It's a race that he doesn't even have to weigh in on, but Bittel has.
He does not have to.
Exactly, but
And
Bittel,
he's being played, I think. He's being played.
He's being played.
time.
He's being played. Wendy, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Do me a
Yet
favor,
another
because I have some people.
Podcast of yours.
I have some people in the chat room who want to support what you're working on down there. So give everyone your Twitter handle and how they can get up with you.
Oh, my Twitter handle is really simple. It's at Sejour. I got in on the Twitter early.
Awesome. Thanks so much
at
for
Sejour.
Awesome. Good luck with everything you're doing down there, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome. Bye-bye.